So this is Adobe After Effects day 3. Going through my Udemy class, and today the first bunch of lessons were basically on moving film clips around. That not especially interesting, but necessary. The next thing he got into was animation, the graphs. Now, an animation graph is when you look at your keyframes in your animation, you can actually, there's a graph of the value of what you're animating and the speed, and you can adjust that various and sundry ways to make a more exact animation, exactly what you're looking for if you want something to speed in. For bringing in text and the things we were looking at, it was a lot of, you want smoothness, you want very smooth, nice animation. You're not looking, you want to make sure it's not jerky and stuff like that. But we were doing stuff like it would get a little bit bigger, and then you can adjust it such that, let's say you're doing scale. You can scale over 100% and then bring it back down, have the curve kind of go up in a little hump. So that was kind of interesting, and also seeing how you go through frame by frame, how these animation paths are frame by frame. After all, if you think of traditional animation, what is it? They would literally have a physical piece of paper, a celluloid or whatever, frame that was painted by an artist. In fact, that's where the term keyframe comes from. The main animator would produce the keyframes, and the more junior animators would produce by hand the frames that went between the keyframes. Now, today, obviously, with the computer, we let the computer do all that. And the purpose of the graphs and so on is to tweak it exactly how you want it. So, spent a good deal of time on that. And then the last thing I've been looking at is matting, which is a way of hiding things and hiding and revealing layers. So you have trackmats, which are like, he gave the best analogy of a window, where you can see what's below, the layer directly below it, when it's under the mat. Then there are inverse alpha mats, which means it's hidden until you, it's hidden while it's under the mat. So to reveal it, you move the layer below out from under the mat. And I think the next one, there's one other kind that I'm going to go over that I didn't get to yet. So now one other interesting, we use that technique actually in one of the initial videos to kind of warm us up. And it could be a cool technique. I guess my question would be, are you not creating an extra layer? When do you really need to use these mats? Because now you have an extra, does that impact performance? It may impact performance only in rendering, but it doesn't really matter once the video is done. So I guess you would look at the aesthetic and see what reveal is the smoothest and looks the best to you. So in terms of, what I'm going to include at the end of this video is the last thing I did tonight, which is a little animation using the inverse alpha mat where you'll see some text and a little car come out from the mat and then go off the page at the other end. The nice thing I'm really liking about this course is I've played with After Effects before, but this is teaching you, he's teaching you quicker ways to do things. Like, one of the important things and one of the things you like to do when you're animating is often use something called Easy Ease, which basically, instead of having just a linear animation, you know, where everything's the same speed, it makes it more natural by having slope up and then slope down. You can see that when you look at the curve of the an Easy Ease animation. And this very quick way to do it that I didn't know, where when you select the keyframes to be Easy Eased, you simply press F9. And things like that. Just little things like quick way to fit your work area, move your work area into your work area to where you have the you know, where you have, I'm not going to say the cursor, but the time in your video, how to fit the composition to your work area, things like that. Just a lot of really useful tips that make working faster. You know, keyboard shortcuts, which I tend not to be very good at. I tend to be mouse driven. But I know when you're working on complex things like this, any keyboard shortcut that you can get in your head is just going to make things faster. So that's one of the benefits of this class that I'm getting. Stuff like I said the other day that I had done the other night when I was playing around, where I was trying to animate these crazy blocks that I had made. Well, I think I can now look at it and see, okay, you know, I can probably make that, kind of fix that from what I've learned so far. Anyway, I'm going to show the little video at the end, and hopefully if you're getting something out of this. If nothing else, it's keeping me honest. So, okay, thank you very much, and I will see you tomorrow.